So finally, let's meet a man who lives in Denmark, which, in case you didn't know, is the oldest monarchy in Western Europe. In Denmark, with his wife, Caroline. Together they have twin boys and a daughter. Rasmus Hougaard is a long-term Buddhist practitioner, the director of the Center for Wisdom and Compassion, and the director and senior trainer of the Potential Project. Please make him welcome as he tells us all about corporate-based mindfulness training for busy people. Ladies and gentlemen, Rasmus Hougaard.
Thank you very much. Nice introduction. And thanks for inviting me to Sydney. This is my first time in Australia. And I arrived yesterday morning, and I've been practicing your accent, wonderful accent, but haven't learned it yet, so you have to put up with my English-Danish called Danglish. But the most important word I've learned so far that seems to be the most important word is this mate. Do I say it right? Mate? Mate, so hi mates. Very happy to be here today. What I'm going to present to you is what has already been spoken a bit about this morning, mindfulness training. And my specific topic is how do you take mindfulness training or a mindful mind and put into a busy work life? How many in here has a busy work life? Show of hands? Yeah, very good, thank you. So I hope I'll have something to contribute with, have some methods, some simple techniques for how to develop a more mindful mind while you are in the midst of busyness. That's at least what I'm going to try. So the Potential Project, where I come from, that I founded 6 years ago, is an organization that is specialized in taking the tradition of mindfulness into work life, meeting the needs and the challenges. And it is developed over the last 6 years by a group of leading scientists, group of mindfulness masters from around the world, and a group of leading top executives from larger corporations like Sony, General Electric, Audi, and so on. So it's a very nice project, and we have developed quite fast. Within the last 2 years, we came from being just based in Denmark to being based in many different countries that I'll show you now. And this is also a mindfulness test. Now, Greg this morning gave you some figures. I'm going to do a flag mindfulness test and ask you, what is the flag that is missing here? Wow. Yes, Australia is missing here, which we're very sorry about, but we are actually launching a Potential Project in Australia by next year, which we're looking very much forward to. And we're looking for great trainers, so if there are any great mindfulness trainers, please step up to me afterwards. So it's going very well, and the reason why it's going very well is because there's a lot of interest in developing the mindful brain, the mindful personality in the work life. So there are 3 things that I'll share with you today. First of all, mindfulness in work life. Why bother? Why is this at all interesting? The second thing is what the scientists say about mindfulness. Fortunately, this morning we already had quite some great speakers talking about these benefits. I will give a little tweak on this and talk specifically about what are the work-life benefits. And then the last thing, I will talk briefly about developing a mindful brain or a mindful mind. And I'll also be leading a 3-hour workshop tomorrow, so those of you who want to go more in depth with that, there's more opportunity there. Today will just be very short. So, why mindfulness in work life? Why are these companies, and these are very large global companies, and they are all using mindfulness? So the question is, why do these companies use mindfulness? And there are basically 2 reasons for this, 2 main reasons. The first one is that they find out that their employees is experiencing what many of you are probably also experiencing, which is this. This is John. John is sitting Monday morning at his desk. And what John is experiencing is probably something many of you can relate to. I guess it's not so much papers that you are burdened with, but what is it then? Emails, yes, always number 1. Emails. But it's also meetings, telephone conversations, text messages, and so on. Anyway, this is something that these companies are realizing that their employees has as a challenge. How many of you think that this work life, this burden, will just diminish and be less within the next few years just by itself. How many think that it might get a bit worse? Yeah, okay. How many of you think that your mental capacity to deal with this just naturally will also increase? Okay, so there's a problem. That's what these companies have realized. The other thing that they realized, and why they've taken in mindfulness, is that they have realized that many of their employees, even though they're great people, they have, what shall we call it, a bit funny mind. So this is to illustrate John again, sitting Monday morning at his desk. Monday morning, having to do a lot of emails, and the mind is full of something else. Are there any golfers in here? No one playing golf? There's a few over there. Yeah, okay. So do you recognize this from your own work life? It could be anything else we're thinking of. Anyway, let's proceed. John is finally going to the golf court. He's very happy. And something else is in his mind. Hopefully his wife. We don't know for sure. And then later on in the day, again, hopefully at home, again, we don't know, thinking back to work. How many in here can recognize this is, again, you are in this conference because you don't have this kind of mind, just who knows someone who's got this mind, or who experienced this, some years ago before you got enlightened? Hands up. So this is a very normal human mind. This is what a psychiatrist would call an ADD mind, attention deficit disorder. And we're all suffering from a light degree of this. No problem, don't worry. You're completely normal. So if we have the combination of this workload that is increasing and this monkey mind, as it's called in the mindfulness tradition, the combination of these two things, this can be the result. Overloaded, stressed, burdened. How many of you have felt like this on a, say, Wednesday afternoon going home from work? Quite normal. Yeah. But there is hope. There is a big hope. And this morning, some of the speakers spoke about the potential of the mind, or neuroplasticity. What we see here is an animation of what your brains are looking like from the inside. If we took a very nice microscope and looked at it, lots of neurons, 100 billion neurons, and a lot of synapses in there. And all of this is plastic. All of this is object for change. And that's the great hope. We can change. And what we have experienced in Potential Project over the last years is that we have a lot of potential to change a busy, stressful work life into something much greater, because we all have a greater potential to change. And we can all experience clear-mindedness, clear focus, efficiency, happiness, and be kind at the same time, even in the midst of busyness, in the eye of the storm. But it does take training. And training, that's what this is about, mindfulness training. So what is mindfulness training? This morning we had a more subtle definition that I'll give you now. My definition for now is mindfulness training is to learn to manage the monkey mind. To learn to manage this constant flow of thoughts that is coming from distractions outside and from distractions inside. Mindfulness is much more than just managing the monkey mind. It's a long tradition that goes back 2,500 years. Very, very subtle instructions on what to do in what situations. I'll talk a bit more about that tomorrow. For now, we'll just say mindfulness is about managing the monkey mind. Is that okay? Very good. So basically, you say, if you want to have a serviceable body in this life, a body that can take you up the stairs, a body that can take you forward in life, then you go to the fitness center. And I would say, if you want a serviceable mind that can really make you perform, be happy, be kind, all these good things you want in life, then you do some training with the mind. Just like training the muscles, we're training our neural networks. That's what mindfulness is about. Okay. So what do the scientists say about mindfulness training? What are the benefits of mindfulness training in a busy work life? There's been done loads of studies. More than 2,500 research projects have been conducted within the last 10 to 15 years. Many of them with amazing results. We saw some of them today already. I'll just give you two different ones. This first one is about stress, that mindfulness is a great aid for stress reduction. There's even the whole program based on mindfulness called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, very widespread all over the world, a great program that is really helping people to be less stressed. But mindfulness can do much more than just help us to get rid of stress. When this tradition was invented, there were no stress, so that was not why it was invented. What they have also found is that mindfulness keeps our brain vigilant and fast reacting. It keeps our brain in a very good shape. And what we see here is a picture of the brain, and the big part that is surrounding the inner part is what is called the cortex. I'll not go too much into detail with it, but just say the cortex is what we're using when we need to solve problems, intellectual thinking, rational thinking. Basically, most of what you do while you're at work, you use the cortex. They have looked at the density of gray cells in the cortex. And before I give you the results, I would like to hear how many in here is under 25. Hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so my message to you is enjoy it, because you are peaking. You are peaking right now. The density of gray cells is almost at the highest. How many in here is above 25? So I'll show you what the brain looks like. When we are 25, we are peaking, and from there onwards, the rest of our life, as Tony said, gray cells are dying, yes, yeah. Or you could say the density of gray cells in the cortex is diminishing. That's not very nice, is it? Okay. Then they have taken mindfulness practitioners and looked at their brains, and this is the result they came up with. Increasing throughout all of life, or at least up until 50. They didn't have subjects that were older than 50. That's interesting. They also looked at two other aspects, sustained attention score, so how much can you focus on a specific thing for 10 minutes? And as you can see, if you are at 25 or older, it's just going the wrong way. And then they took mindfulness practitioners, and guess what? The other way around. And the last thing is reaction time. How fast can you react? I've done these tests myself. It's really interesting. But how fast can you react on certain stimuli? As you can see, the reaction time is going up when you're more than 25. But people doing mindfulness training every day, it's going down. So getting older does not necessarily mean to become slower or to become less focused, less concentrated, because we can actually train. And that's the great news. So there's hope, lots of hope. Lots of other research has been conducted on mindfulness. These are some of the results. I'll not go into that now. Again, I'll tell a bit more about that tomorrow in the workshop. But for now, I will just go into how to develop a mindful mind. Because it's very nice to know that our brain will benefit from mindfulness. It's very nice to know that we're busy and that we can be helped. But we need to actually do the training. The great thing about mindfulness training is it works. The bad news is you actually have to do it. Sorry. So there are many great books about mindfulness. And I know you have a very good author here in Australia, best-selling author David Mitchie. He wrote a few books. One is called Hurry Up and Meditate. That's a book I would definitely, Hurry Up and Meditate, great title. That's a book I would definitely recommend. There's also many other good books like Mindfulness in Plain English, one of the classics, one of the very best. It's always good to get some teachings. Go to a mindfulness center, a Buddhist center, go someplace where you can get some teachings on mindfulness. What I'm going to introduce to you now is what you see on the screen, the ABCD model, which is, I spoke about these 6 years developing together with scientists and so on. Within 6 years, we came up with this model. That's quite good, isn't it? ABCD in 6 years. So it seems very simple, and it is very simple, but it's very hard to do. And what I'll give you now is just, the very, very basic instructions. I'll just tell you what the A is for, what the B is for, what the C is for, and what the D is for, and then we'll actually do it just for 3 minutes, and that's it. So the A stands for anatomy, as you can see. anatomy is basically about having a body posture while you do it that is conducive for your mental training, that the body doesn't come in the way. So it's not very helpful when you do mindfulness to sit like this, because you're likely to fall asleep, but good to sit on a chair or on the ground with your feet in the ground with a straight back. The next thing is to have a relaxed body. It's very helpful to just relax, sit relaxed. So if you just sit relaxed, that's all you need to do with your body. The next point, the B for the breathing, is our attention needs an anchor to focus on. If we don't have an anchor to focus on, it will just wander in east and west and past and present and future. So we need an anchor, and the anchor is the breath. So we focus our full attention on the breath. This morning you were told to do it at the nostrils. Today, or now, I'll tell you to do it at the abdomen. So just sit and observe how the belly is rising and falling as you breathe in and out. Very simple. Don't intervene, don't control, just breathe and observe that. That's all. The C stands for counting, and counting is an aid to help your focus or help your concentration to stay with the breathing. So you breathe in and you breathe out, and you count 1. You breathe in, breathe out, count 2, and you go up to 10, and when you reach 10, you go down to 1 again. And then comes the trick, then comes the challenge, which is the D, the distractions. At some point you will be distracted by sounds from the outside, thoughts from the inside, feelings, sensations, whatever it may be. And what we do in this initial stage of mindfulness is not to engage in distractions, let go of them, and return the full attention to the breath. So that is the basic functionality of mindfulness at the initial stage. Focus on the breathing, count your out-breath. When you get distracted, let go, and return to the breath. Are you ready to try it? Very good. So I'll just guide you very shortly into it again. So we sit relaxed with our feet on the ground, straight back. And we focus our full attention on the breath at the abdomen. Observe as it's rising, as it's falling. And we count at each out-breath. Count up to 10, down to 1. And when we get distracted, whatever the distraction is, we just let go of it, return our full attention to the breath, and start counting again. And we'll sit like this for a few minutes. And so now in your own pace, let go of the breath. Open your eyes and return your attention to the room again. So this is the very basics of mindfulness. There's much more to it. Therefore, good to read some books, good to get some teachings. But even with this, you can get very far. But then, of course, when you're in a busy work life, and you're in meetings, and you're writing emails, and your boss is coming in the door, you cannot just sit and do ABCD, right? What would your boss think if you were just sitting doing ABCD all the day? It doesn't work. You'll get less stressed for sure, but you won't do so much. So the other part of mindfulness training is the informal training, or the training in action, where you're taking this ABCD, this harnessing of the monkey mind, this managing of the monkey mind, where you take this into work life, into everything you're doing. And this is where we've been really thinking about how to formulate this. And it comes in 2 bullet points. How do you practice, or how do you use your mindfulness training in work life while you're out there? It's very simple. First of all, you focus on what you want. Focusing on what we want is not that difficult or not that easy. As you saw now, you had to focus on the breath, but probably your mind kept on wandering to all kinds of things or listening to sounds. Is that right? How many had that? So this is actually a challenge to stay focused on what we want. We saw some of the results of multitasking. There's been done a lot of research on that. Multitasking is the best ruiner of an effective mind. And focusing on what we want is just the opposite of multitasking. So the first step, focus on what you want for as long time as you want it, like on the email. And then the second thing is, while you're mindfully choosing which distractions to engage in and which not. So that means you're sitting at your desk Monday morning and you're writing an email. Then suddenly some thought comes up of golf. Let go of that thought, because it's decreasing your performance, it's decreasing everything you have to do, and it's increasing your stress through doing 2 things at the same time. So you stay focused with the email. Those were the internal distractions. Then there are the external distractions. So then the radio is going from the neighbor. Don't engage in the radio either. Then the boss is coming in, you're still writing your email, and he says, hey, I want you in my office in 2 minutes. You just ignore him. Of course that won't work. So that's why it says, while mindfully choosing which distractions to engage in. So then the boss is coming in, and what we normally tend to do is keep on writing the email, yes, I will be with you in 2 minutes. Does anyone know this one? Trying to do 2 things at a time. And this is where you get into trouble. This is where you get stressed. This is where you are decreasing your performance. When the brain is trying to do 2 things at the same time, we are losing out big time. Big time. Lots of research is showing this. So mindful working is about focusing on what we want and not getting caught up in distractions that are not relevant. So really being a master of our own mind in all situations, constantly being conscious of what am I doing right now, and right now, and right now, and right now. That's what it's like to implement mindfulness, to live a mindful work life. It sounds very easy, doesn't it? At least sounds very simple. Very, very difficult. But I tell you, this very simple recipe combined with a daily mindfulness training of, say, 10, maybe 15 minutes, at least what we see with the people we're working with, is amazing results. And we have had scientists look at it. Amazing results. Doesn't take that much. It's just a shift of how you think. And this mind, of course, you bring into all the activities that you have. It's not just emailing, but it's also in meetings, and it's when you walk to the coffee machine. It's when you're traveling your car or in your bus. It's whatever you do. Harness your mind. Focus your mind. Don't just be lazy. Don't be a monkey, but really focus your mind in anything you're doing, whatever you do. And that's the really recipe of mindfulness in work life. So that was very simple, very basic. If you want to hear more, it's tomorrow. For now, I'll just say, it says 1 minute to go, so I'll just say thank you so much for listening. And as I mentioned, we are coming to Australia, so I was really serious about the thing. Anyone who's interested in engaging with us as a trainer or other kinds of working with us, please come and see me afterwards. Come and bring me your business card or your email address. Also, if you would like, if you're not coming for the workshop tomorrow, if you would like an email with some of the science, with some of the details on the trainings I just gave you here, some of the good books I could recommend. So in general, I'll send out an email to anyone who's interested in knowing a bit more about how can I live a more mindful work life. So come and see me afterwards. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a good day.